This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff, post-draft fun special.
Not even a ka-chow?
I said, woo.
Where's the woo?
Sorry.
Wow. OH, that's what we need. You're right,
No,
Alex.
it's
We're
not.
going to substitute ka-chow for OH. I get it.
No,
Okay. Today is Monday, April 28th.
No, I know. I'm a Steeler fan, not an Ohio State fan. We have some players now that went from Ohio State to the Steelers. Guess what? If they okay, here.
Spoiler alert.
Here he goes.
Here we go. Hold on.
Here he goes.
C.J. Donaldson transferred from West Virginia to Ohio State. So if you root for him, are you now a West Virginia fan?
I mean, at the end of the year, he'll be a Buckeye, so...
Okay, at the end of the year, these guys will be Steelers. So...
Once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye, Alex.
Once a Mountaineer, always a Mountaineer.
I feel like your logic's falling apart very quickly on this one, Jim.
I don't know, once a Mountain...
Today is Monday, April 28th, and we're here to talk about all of the draft drama, which will be further dramatized by this Ohio discussion that Jim will put front and center for as many times as he's able to, especially while we're here listening to him chomp on his gum, including Shedeur Sanders' free fall from Mel Kiper's point of view, what the Browns will be doing at quarterback now, including who is the odds-on favorite to start week one.
Who cares?
What in the hell happened to Mel Kiper Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? Projections for the quarterback position in Pittsburgh, and what Nate's Bucs and Jim's Texans were up to over the weekend with the draft, and what the teams look like moving forward. We're going to get into all of that in this week's episode. As always, thanks to all of those interacting with our content on socials, at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter, Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, rate, review, poke, like, tickle.
Get that bell on, baby.
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. Keep up those YouTube Shorts views. We had a couple with around 1K. We've had 3 or 4 over 1K views over the past couple weeks.
Nice.
So,
Shout
thanks
out
everybody
Jay
for your
Dudley.
support.
Shout out my guy, Jay Dudley. Always hit me up. Always wanting to see the podcast.
On YouTube Shorts.
On everything. He's
On
an
iPhone,
avid
all the
fan now.
things.
But does he have connection to the Dudley brothers?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll have to ask him.
That is. Before we get into the draft discussion, rest in peace, Steve McMichael, a.k.a. Mongo, from the Bears.
Bears. T's and P's.
Mm-hmm.
T's and P's. In addition to his role with the Bears defense and some of their vaunted defensive years, he was also famous for singing the 7th inning stretch at a Cubs game and calling out Angel Hernandez for being an absolute dumpster fire and shitty umpire. If anybody's not seen that, take a look.
Call it like
It's the best. And
I think I remember seeing that, and there's going to be a new Angel Hernandez from what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that? Do you have the name?
C.B. Buckner.
C.B. Buckner. He just sounds like a piece of poo. Maybe we should get him all the Pirates games. Maybe we'll have a shot.
I haven't seen C.B. umpire at all this year, but I've seen some highlights of already where... And the worst thing is the damn... whatever you want to call it, you see on TV with the box, whether it's a ball, whether it's a strike.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, of course, they're like, oh, well, look, he's missed these many pitches. It's like, yeah, why don't you get your ass back there and try doing it without a box?
Whoa, a little defensive there from Nate.
Oh, yeah, he did.
I mean, it's a little,
Sticking
bit more
up
difficult
for
than
the
you
umpires.
think. Yeah, I got battle wounds to prove it, too. Not just mentally.
Nate's nursing an injury today.
Mm-hmm.
Took a foul ball to the thigh.
Yeah.
Well, the thigh?
Yes.
Okay.
And close to the old...
No, it's
To the old
closer to
giblets,
the knee, but it's black and blue, starting to turn black and blue. So
The upper inner thigh?
lower inner thigh.
That's
Lower
good.
inner thigh. Yeah. Well, it's closer to your knee. I don't know if that's the best.
That's true.
Jim, before we get started, we recorded a bit of this episode on the front end, which will be the back end of the episode as you're listening, and just wanted to let you know that the Grizzlies were eliminated from the NBA playoffs, which means Ja Morant can spend all the time he wants at adult ballets during the offseason now.
Well, I'm glad you got that basketball shit out the way. Thank you.
All right.
I had
Let's
Did
get
me a
in.
solid.
somebody at work last week what the adult ballet was.
You had to what?
Explain to someone, because I use that reference or whatever. He goes, "What the hell's an adult ballet?"
Did you do what you did to Jim? And literally, I'm going to say, think about it.
Yep,
How long did it take?
about 30 seconds.
All right, Jim, quicker on the uptick there.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. The 2025 NFL Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Sound effect, Nate.
Do, 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 do. Please don't ban us.
Don't worry, it
Please,
sounded
please
nothing like
don't.
it was supposed to, so you're good.
Yeah,
What's
you were
the
good.
point?
Good thing we're all tone deaf. All right, we'll start out with the top 10 picks, and then we'll get into some more storylines. So as we go through these top 10, feel free to insert any thoughts, comments, positive, negative, constructive, whatever you may want to add on any of these players getting picked in the top 10. We start with the consensus number one, the anticipated number one, the ultimate number one pick, Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans from the Miami Hurricanes, number one overall. In a surprise move, Warren Moon is allowing him to wear the number one jersey, which had been retired.
I mean, that's the most hype the poor bastard got.
110%. I missed like the first 6 or 7 picks. I missed about the first 7 or 8 picks. Alex and I were taking in some arts things. But
Doing the arts.
we were doing the arts. So, yeah, I mean, this was all expected, but definitely did not capture all the headlines because at number 2, we had the big move of the day on Thursday. We had the Jaguars get the pick from Cleveland and take Travis Hunter from Colorado.
Stupidest trade. Jacksonville management. They got that young buck GM. Good for you, buddy. But did you really need to do that? Dumb.
Well, there was speculation, I think, from Schrager earlier in the week, not about a potential trade up to 2, but everybody originally had them taking, I think, a defensive player, and they go, "Oh, don't be surprised. They went and got a new young GM and who was hired after they got an offensive-minded head coach. Don't be surprised they go get a weapon for Trevor Lawrence," and that's what they did. Overpaid for it, but they did.
So dumb.
So we'll see. We'll see how this pays out for the Jaguars. But yeah, if recent past is the precedent for what will happen, this will somehow blow up in the Jaguars' face.
At least they traded with a team who's equally as dumb.
Yeah, if
we
you're
will get to that.
if you're Travis Hunter, are you glad that you're going to the Jags though instead of Cleveland?
Yeah, there's no state income tax.
Yeah.
It's nice your weather. If you're going to play on a shitty team, you might as well be in good weather.
And you get guaranteed to play London at least once, if not twice a year.
Exactly.
All right. Well, those are all good things, I guess. At 3, rounding out the top 3 picks, again, most expected these to be the top 3 picks. We have Abdul Carter from Penn State heading to the New York Giants.
He wants LT's number. LT said go pound sand.
I mean, all you can do is ask, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would expect LT to provide that response. No surprises there. So again, that was the top 3. It was expected. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter going top 3. Then we got into what would be.
Hold on. I just had a thought.
Yeah.
The conversation, I know they're intermediaries and it was a lot less undramatic and it was just a thing like, hey, can I? No, man, go make your own way with your, I understand. But I like to picture it. It kind of went something like, Mr. LT, can I have your number? And like, he has one squinty eye, like an old pirate. And he goes, kid, if you wear that number, you'll be cursed with hookers and blow and jail time. You don't want that number. You know what I mean? Like,
minus the jail
just horror stories of that number. Do
What's
what?
that, Alex?
I said minus the jail time. I'll take the number.
Hookers and blow. You okay with that?
Doesn't sound like a curse necessarily.
If you take that number, you may break, a Hall of Fame quarterback's leg.
I
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
That could be part of
That's
that
true.
curse.
Fine.
Maybe could be in some movies, right?
I'll make my own way.
Brings me to my next point. Don't do crack.
But every time that LT talks about his career, he's like, I was drunk during all that. I got high on meth afterwards. Like, there's never a story that doesn't end with him saying some nefarious shit he did after or before or during.
Listen, nothing will be as bad or as remarkable as that pitcher for the Pirates that pitched a no-hitter while high on LSD.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, word.
I feel like LT should have his own like Charlie Murphy skit that was on Chappelle.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we should have that for LT.
Yeah. That was my
Chappelle,
hero as a kid.
Chappelle, get back in the lab.
Yeah,
Make
get
that
in there.
happen. Please, we need this for your next hour-long special on Netflix. At 4, we had New England taking offensive tackle Will Campbell from LSU. Again, somebody they expected to be one of the top picks after these top 3. But there was, the speculation he had short arms, and then Vrabel said, I brought him in, we put pads on, and I put hands on him, and I think he's good. I'm not going to tell anybody, and there's no video evidence, but I may have been on my ass. So,
Tell me he's not Bobby Boucher, though.
Vrabel?
No, Will Campbell.
No, Will Campbell.
I guess, yeah.
Like, this kid, I would want him on my team. Like, he will die for his team.
He did say that.
Like, I'm about this kid.
Yeah, and I think his suit color was a shout out to, if you remind me the name of the gentleman that just lost his life, LSU Jim.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can't think.
Tyron Lake.
Yeah, so he actually was wearing that suit, and I think a reporter didn't like make fun of it, but was like trying to shed light or make light of like the suit not being something they would expect. And he put him right in their place. It's like, hey, this is actually like a shout out to him, in his recent passing. So it was like, whoop, you done goofed there,
You
reporter.
goofed.
Should have did your research on that one. Next at number 5, we have the Cleveland Browns, who take defensive tackle Mason Graham from Michigan. Again, another player that was expected to be somewhere in that top 10, just people weren't sure where, and obviously the Browns having this pick, a little bit different placement than expected.
And not a terrible pick. At that point, you think, okay, Cleveland, maybe, but like, you should, if you thought that, you got to remember who you're talking to. But like, okay, Cleveland, all right, good job.
Put somebody out there to have on the line with Myles Garrett, right?
Yeah.
This is a solid strategy.
Good
We see where
job.
you're going. We get to number 6. The Raiders take Ashton Genty, Boise State. Jim, I think you were a fan of this pick at the time.
I thought it was great. Everybody was thinking they're going to go quarterback. They might get Shedeur. And then there was that crowd that was like, no, they need Genty. And I thought, well, all right, good job. Sticking to the script. I'm proud of you guys.
We have a running back go in the top 10, right? That is not something that we've been used to seeing. But I think this is a good class for running backs. And obviously Philadelphia has shown the blueprint of how you can build with a running back as a focal point and win a Super Bowl in the current day and age. So we'll see where that goes. Then we get to the Jets. Jets, Jets. Taking offensive tackle Armand Mbu from Missouri. I don't think we have much to say there aside from he was expected to be a top 10-ish talent, so.
But did we think the Jets? Okay.
Yeah, because they really they lost Mekhi Becton to the Eagles last year. I mean, they really struggled. I mean, they weren't going to go out and make a splash like the Jags did by any means.
Build along the offensive defensive line, which is a theme of round 1. We'll see some of the breakdown of what this looked like in round 1 here shortly, but players along the offensive defensive line, definitely a theme. At 8, we had, I would say, the first surprise pick. I think there were some that expected Tet McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona, to maybe catch a flyer from somebody, but I don't know if everybody was thinking it was going to be within the top 10. He goes to. Who did he go to, Nate?
Carolina Panthers.
Carolina Panthers. Um, we'll see. I mean, is a good weapon for Bryce Young. There's a lot of Tet McMillan could be the best wide receiver by far in this draft, or could be somebody that disappoints and is a bust. So, TBD on how that goes. But the Panthers are the one to take that risk, get him in the top 10.
Hey, I mean, I feel like we'd like laugh about some of this, but then on the back end, there are people that like. I feel like we've seen this before, where someone gets drafted early and it actually pans out. So I feel like the Panthers saw something in him that we liked, and it was a stretch, but it wasn't ridiculously of a stretch. So
Yeah.
Then we get to the Saints, who again go with that offensive line strategy, not taking a quarterback as some had speculated, as they take Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas, projected to, I believe, be a tackle in the NFL.
I think this is one that I question not so much. Like, I think they saw the ways of the draft and how it was going, so they grabbed him. But does that, at the time, sitting there, I kind of was like following the crowd, like, why didn't we snag a quarterback? Thinking that, like, quarterbacks, because it's the 9th pick. I thought this was going to be a quarterback kind of situation. And then in hindsight, I go, oh, okay. Quarterbacks aren't going to go till way late. Good job.
Yeah, definitely. I think got a more of a greater need, right? We got Derek Carr, we're still unsure about, but definitely a greater need to bulk up that line.
But as a fan, you know what I mean? Like sitting there at pick 9 and the quarterbacks haven't gone and New Orleans passes it up, you go, oh, you idiots. You should have got a quarterback.
Yeah.
But now in hindsight, after all the rounds go through, you go, oh, all right, good job.
what makes you think I'm sure people talk. I mean,
Sure.
Right. That's not a splash pick, right? We hope for those. We didn't get it from the Saints, at least in the first round. Next at 10, we had the Bears taking the first tight end off the board as they take Colson Loveland, tight end from Michigan, adding another piece to that puzzle for Caleb Williams in the passing game.
Yeah, I think this one was kind of a surprise pick for some too.
Yeah.
did you think he'd be the first tight end off the board?
I think he had a higher. If you looked at the consensus, he and Tyler Warren were about the same. Many had Loveland going before Tyler Warren, but they were going to be in like this short pod of picks they anticipated. So it was just going to be which one fit better with the team that wanted to take a tight end first.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's why I was wondering. Like, I guess my gut would have leaned more towards Tyler Warren if I was picking between the two.
It's the fit. It's the fit.
Yeah.
I think Loveland is seen more as a blocking tight end. Warren,
Right.
while he can block, is able
Receiving
to
tight end.
split out more of like a Travis Kelce.
That's what, yeah. No,
Yeah. Now, earlier in his career, Tyler Warren is probably going to be able to block me more of a George Kittle type. But I think, after 3 or 4 years, they're probably going to do more splitting him out like Kelce is, just to maybe preserve his career, especially if he has early success.
I feel like
a
Chicago
la
has.
Brock Bowers.
Yeah, Chicago's a generally good spot for tight ends. I feel like. I mean, you had Cole Kmet there. Well, he is still, I think. Jimmy Graham. So, I don't mind it.
Yeah, we'll see here. Let's look real quick at the round 1 picks from our teams. Let's start with Nate's Bucs.
So first round, Bucks took was surprised. I think I want to say to every Bucks fan, but for me especially because it wasn't an immediate need. They go out and get Emeka Ibuka out of Ohio State, and at first I'm like, wow, that's excuse me, a really big surprise. But then there's people saying, well, what does this mean for Chris Godwin as far as his recovery? Like, is it not going well? And then I think Jason Light came out and said, with Chris coming off a second major injury, Mike not getting any younger, he goes, this is not only a move to win now, this is a move to win in the future, which I can understand because, again, Chris and Mike are both veterans now. I just thought it was kind of a little bit of a stretch considering they drafted a receiver, McMillan out of Washington last year in the first round. But then I kept thinking, like, man, if they go split or 4 wide receivers split out, or they go 5 with K Dot, and they really have loaded Baker up with a lot of talent.
Yeah. So I agree. That was what I heard too, is the unknowns about Godwin, and that a receiver was definitely worth the round one pick. Steelers in round one take defensive tackle Derek Harmon from Oregon, drafted in the first round, and then unfortunately his mother passed away. I guess officially that night. She'd been on life support. I think there's one of those where she had been on life support for, I think, some time, and I think it was part of like his dream and everything to be able to, tell his mother before she passed on, that he was drafted in the NFL. It was even reported later on that Harmon had been using and had used his NIL money to help support her healthcare costs during that time. So you saw a lot of generosity and kindness from the Steelers coaches, Steelers fans, and everything, and across the NFL as well. So, right, so a great day for Derek Harmon. A little bit of melancholic and kind of not the best overall. So we had that. Texans had no round one picks,
No.
so we don't have anything to chat about there. All right. Round one items of note before we get into the Shedeur Sanders drama. 26 players in round one were taken from either the SEC or the Big Ten. The SEC had 15, the Big Ten had 11. We only had 10 players overall from skill positions selected in the first round, and that included 2 tight ends. 10 defensive linemen were picked in round one, and 8 offensive linemen in round one.
Are we counting Travis Hunter in which way? Because I know ESPN was counting him as a both.
I counted him, I believe, as a receiver in that particular.
Okay.
I put those numbers together, so I believe I counted him as a receiver.
Okay, because at one point, like, I don't know which one of the analysts, but they were counting it as both
Like it's 2 players,
defensive and
basically.
offensive, and yeah.
I don't know. All right, let's get into it, boys. Let's get into the deep muck here. Not only because we're talking about the Poo-Poo Browns, but because of all the drama that followed
The
Shedeur
Poo-Poo
Sanders
Browns.
throughout the first 3 days. He finally gets picked up by the Browns, pick 144 in the 5th, which then at that time puts 5 quarterbacks in Cleveland's roster with Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, who was selected prior to Sanders, and then Shedeur Sanders. The odds-on favorite to start week 1, Kenny Pickett, guys. -110 odds. Followed by Shedeur Sanders, then Gabriel, Flacco, and Watson, who everyone expects will not be able to start the season due to injury.
I love it. I think it shows you that teams are only willing to put up with so much crap, and I do believe that the show that comes with him is a deterrent based on his skill level. He was a good player, but I think the argument here is there are other players that are good too, and they don't have to deal with all the other crap. And in today's day and age, I feel like the NFL already has such a dramatic flair that, like, maybe people are just like, you know what, just not willing to take that on right now.
I think that's somewhere in between. I think that part of what Alex said is true. I don't know that it's the only reason though. I think maybe he's not that good.
I
I
agree with
think
that as well.
that plays a large part in that. I think also that Cleveland is trying to be the Brainiacs again and going to step all over themselves. And eventually they're like, well, one of them will pan out. One of the 5 will pan out. And the rest will try to trade for more draft capital in next year's
The blow.
situation, and hopefully we'll pick up a more, like, they've resigned themselves to, we're going to be quarterback program.
I feel
And they're good with being the revolving door.
bad for Joe Flacco. I feel like he just got a babysitting assignment.
Yeah, I think so to some degree.
Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel.
Like, I think Kenny
Yeah.
Pickett's gonna be like the good kid in class, who's like not very smart, but you're like, okay, likable. I feel like you're gonna have Dylan Gabriel that's like kind of in the middle. I think you have Deshaun Watson, who is like not very good and always in trouble, and then you're gonna have Shedeur, who's like a pretty good student, but it's really hard to keep him focused. And then you're gonna have Joe
That may
Flacco, the
be
old
the
man.
best compliment you could have ever paid Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
From your mouth right there, Alex, that may be the
Yeah.
most positive thing that ever comes out of your mouth about
An
Shedeur
okay player,
Sanders.
but had to hard to keep him focused.
We're going to see how this goes down. Nate, I believe you want this to be Hard Knocks.
Yeah, I saw somebody else say it on social media, and I thought it was hysterical. Like, could you imagine Hard Knocks picking this up with just the quarterback room?
That's what someone else said. Like make it like a Real World or a Big Brother type thing where you just watch.
I mean, there's a way to monetize that. 24/7 coverage, just like do with Big Brother. You can add on and watch the cameras at all times.
Yes.
There were already questions shortly after in the draft room because it did not seem that they were overly excited with the Sanders pick, to the point where coaches actually had to discuss this in post-draft pressers. That they did not show the enthusiasm that many expected after picking
But they're
Shedeur
like, we're about to have to
Sanders.
deal with this crap.
Yeah, I saw speculation that they think the owner stepped in and said, we're taking him.
For the show.
I mean, I will say the coaches did say, like, what you see isn't necessarily us in the moment. Like, there may be a delay. You're probably not seeing us at that specific time. So, it may
Yeah,
be tough.
CYA.
Yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do. But it's already started, if that's the case, with the types of questions and the speculation about how they're going to treat Shedeur Sanders and how everyone feels about this draft pick before they even get into the training
What
camps.
makes you feel bad for Dylan Gabriel? I mean, you feel like, oh yeah, look, they picked me, and then they're like, wait, you picked him too? What the hell?
Cleveland becomes the first team to draft two quarterbacks with successive picks since the 1990 Saints. In Cleveland, they had 50 picks apart between Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders.
Well, and then didn't the Raiders do the same thing, even though the one guy was technically in the draft as a wide receiver?
I don't know, I just saw this stat and I
Well,
plucked it out.
yeah, I saw it was two FCS guys they picked late. They picked the guy that was the quarterback in Montana, who was in the draft as a wide receiver, and then they picked the quarterback out of like North Dakota State like 2 picks later.
Yeah. No, I did not see that. All right, so let's look at night one. The legendary draft room of Shedeur Sanders, which was referenced. I didn't even see the first 10-ish picks, and I still saw them pan to that every 5 to 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, because ESPN has a hard on for the Sanders family.
True.
It was by far, I will say, the most well thought out draft room for a player that I've seen, probably ever. Looked like it was pretty much a full draft party. So we had that going on, and we did not see that after night one, which I thought was
No, and then
interesting.
didn't I see a thing too? They said that he was live streaming some of this stuff too.
I don't know if that was. I think it was definitely live streamed when he got drafted. I don't know about the full like night one, night two, and stuff like that. But definitely when he was drafted, there was a live stream going on. All right, the belle of the ball, the man with the plan, the guy that has all the picks and all the knowledge, Mel Kiper, went pretty hard on Shedeur Sanders. 3 successive days, to the point on Saturday that Reese Davis had to intervene to calm him down because Kiper would not come off the fact that he thought everyone was against him and Shedeur Sanders on that set. Did anybody else see this, see the clips?
Yes,
What were your thoughts, Nate? Because I saw this live.
that Reese Davis deserves a round of applause.
Yeah. They had to convince Mel Kiper that they were not arguing with him, they were not against him, and they were not trying to sabotage Shedeur Sanders as Mel Kiper thought everybody in the world was doing at that particular time. But afterwards, many thought, maybe it's time for Mel to maybe step away. He's getting, maybe not having the best takes anymore. And then, as the internet does, they went backwards and said, maybe not just this year, TBD on Shedeur Sanders, but there are many other instances where Mel Kiper may have put himself in a situation to step away, including 2007 when he projected Jamar Russell to be an elite quarterback and compared him to John Elway. In 2010, he promised to retire if Jimmy Clausen was not a successful quarterback in 8 years. Still waiting for that retirement speech. He was also very high on Andre Ware, Johnny Manziel, and Achilles Smith. And the topping on top of this year's cake, he gave the Browns an A+ grade on their draft this year. You hear that, Jim?
For the love.
A+.
Well, then how about during that rant with Reese Davis where he's like, oh, the NFL, they haven't been able to evaluate quarterbacks and blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, here's your point exactly, Mel. You fit right in.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I honestly think there's a little payola in the media for some of these draft pick situations.
I think there's a little inflation of the talent based on some extra hundreds, extra thousands under the table.
Yeah, and I know that I've busted you guys up this weekend on the Ohio State thing, but I think there's some overhype in certain situations, and the school you're at helps that. And if an investigation came out that said, like, the Ohio State program gave money out to inflate some of their picks, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Like, make it sound like, hey, wow, that's an amazing pick, but like that is that what you mean by like inflation? Like, oh, hey, Mel Kiper will give you $1,000.
Or pre-draft, like Will Howard on the Gruden situation, like, and then we send him a big box of Ohio State swag. Like, there's some wooing of the media done, and I think that like Dion did it real hard for his boy, which I mean every dad's gonna do that, but I think that's like, I think there's should be some like sports media is not unbiased. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
SEC, SPN.
Yeah, like also cheap ass plug. If any college football player wants us to hype you up before the draft, hit us up on Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff.
You don't even have to give us money. We'll just do it.
Just show publicity.
We'll just give you some free pub. Speaking of maybe some members of the media that maybe Jim may or may not have had a response to a Twitter post that was going around the internets, Stephen A. Smith had some thoughts. Speculating that maybe there was some conspiracy against Shedeur Sanders, and Jim stays consistent, calls Stephen A. Smith a
cuck.
Oh, he goes even farther. One step further, from bitch to cuck, Stephen A. Smith. Jim, what was your real-time thoughts whenever you read Stephen A. Smith's tweet and then saw some of the fanfare around it?
Maybe he's just not that good. Like,
that is Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, like, well, and Stephen A. Smith, but like, it's the whole like it's a conspiracy, and okay, I'm in the canceled mood, so fuck it. Stephen A. Smith dances around the black card, and like he uses it as a weapon sometimes, and there's a lot of times he's right. There's a lot of times, in my opinion, I don't speak for the show, I don't speak for these three, so before they get canceled, I do not speak for these three. Okay? I believe that Stephen A. is a lot of times correct with his political line dancing. But there are times where he's fucking wrong. And like, he never entertains the fact that maybe Shedeur's not good. Maybe he's not what the NFL is looking for, not based on anything other than talent. Or, to Alex's point, maybe nobody wants to deal with the fucking headache.
Well, and how many articles came out about owners or coaches saying that he just interviews so poorly? Like, he had this notion about him. And he's like, I think there was one long quote. I can't remember everything that was in it, but they were like, it was the worst interview with the pre-draft I've ever had. He was entitled. He wasn't this, that, and the other. Didn't like act like he wanted to be there. This, that, and the other. It's like,
And I think you can combine the 2 points there. You have to, if you're going to act like that, you have to be lights out. Like, you have to be the best thing since sliced bread coming out of college if you want to act like an asshole like that. And you aren't. So now you have an average player with terrible personality. And I'm not going to, I'd rather pick up someone else.
I don't know that I would go as far as say he's average.
Yeah,
I agree with you that like
I was going to catch shit
he's
when I
not
said that,
he's not elite.
no.
He's not elite enough to be acting like he's a celebrity. Get to the league first. Get there and do something there before you have your legendary draft room, your TikToks, your all that. Unless you want to be a celebrity, then go do that. Like, you can't have both feet in the water if you haven't proven what the other foot does.
And that makes me remember another thing too. Whenever he was training with Cam Ward, and he said, "Oh, we should make a song," and Cam goes, "No, I want to be known for football." He goes, "Oh, you have no hobbies?" Everybody goes, "No, I want people to Google me and say Cam Ward, American football."
That's it, man. Like, I'm not trying to knock the hustle. Like,
No,
I think he's a great media head. He's like a Jake Paul, and I know we bust Jake Paul and the Paul brothers up, but they have a great hustle. But you went into the draft in a game, like, it's a game. Like, you have to play by the rules. You're not breaking the rule. Like, you're not making the rules. You haven't broke the establishment. And I understand the establishment. Again, I only speak for me. The establishment is a bunch of stuffy old white guys. But don't act fucking shocked when the stuffy old white guys don't want you. Like, it's, unless you're a generational talent, which I don't believe he is. That
Whoa, whoa! I think I just heard Mel Kiper's brain explode.
I'm sorry. Like,
well, and like they said too, there's only 32 of these jobs in the world. You got to go out there and treat it like, again, it's a once in a lifetime thing. Not, oh well, there's 32 of them, but well, I think I only want to be with one of like these 10 to 12 or whatever. Like, these teams are bringing you in. Like, I think I saw one was like the Giants were out on him early because of his interviews with Dayball. Like, Dayball gave him like a short list of plays or like some sort of package, and they thought he wasn't prepared or took it seriously enough.
and I think the counter argument to Stephen A. Smith, right, is Will Howard. You have a national championship quarterback who did all the right things, went to church with his teammates, white as snow, came in and.
That doesn't mean it's the right thing, Jim.
But I mean, according to him, the complete opposite of Shedeur.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's a stereotypical build. He's 6'4", 200 some odd pounds. Like,
A winning pedigree, is the locker room leader, drinks the fucking Kool-Aid that the master wants you to drink, that the owner wants you to drink. He went after Shedeur. Like, he was dropped in the late round. So what is the conspiracy? Because the guy who is what the owners want didn't get drafted until after Shedeur. So tell me what it is. Like, there's no merit to Steven's argument, is my point.
I'm waiting to hear the support on Monday today.
I
I'm
don't see it.
I'm sure he's going to try it real hard. You put him and Mel Kiper in a room.
I couldn't. I'd vomit.
Yeah, I feel like they should be just for Monday.
I'm
Like,
good.
let's give him a 20-minute slot on Monday just to go in and.
But
and just
Wingo,
hobnob.
Trey Wingo, came on either TikTok or Twitter and was like, "I just don't think he's good." And there were some other guys that came out and were like, "We just
There are
don't think
others
he's good."
that are in that camp of, and that's where I think this goes to your point, Jim, where media and media members may be getting a little kickback or maybe getting a little like, hey, please do this, because the media was all over it. You haven't heard coaches, you haven't heard GMs just saying like round one talent for sure. This has all been generated by the draft pundits.
Yeah.
Right? There's nobody that's I've heard a GM or a coach come out and be like, he's a round one talent. Like, even Tomlin said, hey, he came and visited. It was a good visit, but he never said like He's round one. Like, he's our guy. They never said it, and obviously they didn't pick him. They had 4 or 5 opportunities to do it and didn't do it.
He didn't have a pro day, or he didn't come to the combine. He didn't do.
I'm not worried about the combine because how many people did go to the combine that were at the top?
But if you wanted to, there was his opportunity to make it a show.
But they did their own show. Remember, they had their own showcase.
Yeah, I think. What's the other thing that chapped my ass about it? The Raiders. He was mentored by Tom Brady. Tom Brady didn't get him, but Tom Brady didn't catch no smoke for not going to get him. You know, it's. I just don't believe it. I think
somebody who spent time around him didn't want him.
Right.
Yeah. There we go. We also had people get into the Twitter machine and found that Dion had previously said on Twitter he didn't want Shedeur to go to Cleveland, and if that was the case, he would approach the situation like Eli Manning.
I was waiting for it.
Well, guess what? You went to Cleveland and you didn't bitch and moan about it.
Waiting for it.
He probably realized that's his only option.
At that point, don't want to be an undrafted free agent like your brother. And then we have the last piece of the Shedeur drama that didn't come out till a little bit later, is that his private number was leaked, and leaked by, unintentionally leaked, quote unquote, by a member of the Falcons coaching staff, defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, whose son Jax got a hold of the number and is the one that has gone viral for the prank call to Shedeur Sanders, saying that he had been picked in the first round. Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Good luck coming back from that one.
I thought the video I saw, he called him and said he tried to impersonate saying that he was the GM from the Saints and that they were going to pick him, but he would, quote, have to wait a little bit longer. But either way, it's a shitty situation, one. But how in the world does the coach accidentally leave that phone number up for his son to get?
And even if he does, what? Kid, come on. You didn't think this was going to come back to you? In the world that we live in.
And I'm sorry, but why take a freaking video of you doing it?
How old is this kid?
21.
Oh. I was, for some reason, in my mind, picturing like a 15-year-old. Like, you're a little bit, you know a little bit better than that at 21.
Apparently,
Drunk Alex would do it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Drunk Alex would 100% do this
That's
specific
why I hang out
thing.
with.
Yes.
That's why I hang out with Muff, because he's the person that's like, nope, too far.
Jax Ulbrich did share via social media that apparently he and Shedeur had a phone conversation over the weekend, and he was hoping that he would be forgiven.
Well, here's another thing that I didn't know about this whole situation is they said that this phone or whatever was given to him. It was a number that only the executives had.
Mm-hmm.
Has this always been the thing where these players are given a separate phone with a separate phone number by the NFL?
I saw the TikTok of Shedeur, and I don't think it was given to him. I think he got it himself and gave it out specifically for the draft to avoid
So he
this
got a
kind of
separate
prank.
phone just for
Just
NFL
for the draft,
okay.
right?
Because I was like, there's no way that they do this for all these players where
No,
they
he
get
did
them a
it.
separate number.
He did it himself, and that's what he gave out.
I think the players just have to supply a number,
Mm-hmm.
and in this case, like Jim said, he just bought a whole new phone and number, just so it was like that was the
Because at first I was like, how in the world? Like, there's no way they do that. I mean, unless they do it for just a high or profile guys. But I'm still thinking, like, there ain't no way.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
NFL can afford it. Anything else on the Shedeur Sanders that we want to chat about? Anything else that came out?
Nope.
All right, so let's get into the notable picks for our teams. Let's do a random draw here. Jim picking number 1 to 3.
2.
Well, notice he didn't pick 1 because his team didn't have a 1.
Oh, 2 is Nate's Bucs. So
All right,
Nate,
so
let's go.
as we touched on earlier, Bucs took Emeka Egbuka round 1. Round 2 and 3, they came to their senses and realized, hey, our secondary is usually not too good. let's go out and get 2 new corners. So in the second round, they took Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. And in the third round, they took Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. I want to say the Morrison kid out of Notre Dame was one that got hurt earlier in the year and missed a significant amount of time. So I'm like, oh, that's great. Let's take a guy that didn't play much this past year. And then, I mean, either way, you go out and get 2 needs. I think early projections, they were supposed to take maybe a safety in the first round, but the corner position in Tampa has been a revolving door for years. So hopefully they can finally figure it out and get some guys that can play there with consistency. And then, of course, they go out and they sign Shiloh as an undrafted free agent, which translates to, yeah, you can come practice with us for a little bit, and then you'll be in the CFL before you know it. And then they also went out and signed Florida defensive tackle Desmond Watson to become the heaviest player currently in the NFL at 464 pounds, who's been nicknamed the Tush Push Destroyer, the Tush Push Eliminator, something. So I would love to see that come to, like, they play Philly again with him and Vita Vea clogging up the middle. Good luck.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of tush pushing. It's going to be from the defensive side on that.
Yeah, I want to say he
line.
outweighs. I saw a thing. I think he outweighs Vita Vea by like 90 pounds.
Yeah. So Sanders went to the Bucs. Not the Sanders we expected.
I'm going to crack up if Shiloh ends up being like this generational NFL talent, like amazing, and Shedeur shoots the bed.
I'm sure you will, Alex. I'm sure
That's
you will.
my hot take.
All right, Nate, if you had to give a grade to the Bucs draft.
Without knowing more or looking into the later round picks, I would give it like a B or B minus. I mean, I love the Emeka Buka pick, even though it was a surprising pick, and you went out and got the 2 corners that hopefully they pan out.
All right, Jim. Number 1 through 6.
2.
Steelers it is. Steelers were the evens, Texans were the odds. All right, Alex, take it away. How did the Steelers do? Give us the round by round, and then give us your grade.
So round by round, round 1, we took obviously defensive tackle Derek Harmon. We talked about him a good bit in his situation with his mother. I'm good with that pick. I think our defense needs some help, so I was not upset at all to see us take someone to help us on that side of the ball. Round 3, we took running back Caleb Johnson from Iowa. Another good pick with Najee leaving. We need someone, so going to start exploring some options there. Round 4, we took edge rusher Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. Not a bad player, not a fan of him just based on his antics, but if he can know his role kind of and fall in line, I don't think he's a bad pick when you're talking about his football skills. Round 5, defensive tackle Yaya.
Yeah.
I need to get better at doing what Muff does and just commit to one thing. Again, a defensive tackle pick. It seems like we got themes, so we did Ohio State, Iowa. The good news is the guys from Iowa don't have to get a new wardrobe. So, round 6, we finally did what I thought we were going to do at some point, take a quarterback. We end up taking Will Howard from Ohio State. I mentioned before I would prefer him to Shedeur Sanders, so I'm actually happy that we ended up with him. I'm interested to see what we do from there. Do we get another veteran quarterback and end up sitting Will Howard and letting him get a couple years or a year at least to kind of train behind someone, or throw him right in and see what he can do? Round 7, we had a linebacker and a quarterback. Linebacker Carson Bruner from Washington and cornerback Dante Kent from Central Michigan. So
Carson Bruner, son of Steelers legendary tight end Mark Bruner.
Yes. So I honestly, overall, I'm happy with our draft. I think we did well. I think we needed defensive players. We got them. We needed a running back prospect. We needed a quarterback prospect. We got them. I'd give it, an A.
Not even an A+. You didn't get the Mel Kiper A+. Alex gives it an A.
No, I mean I'm just being
Um,
realistic. I think I'd give it an A. What do you think, Muff?
I give it the B plus range. Definitely in the first round, picked. I would say, let's say the most glaring need. Say it's most glaring need based on the issues that were around last year, right? Issues stopping the run, especially up the middle. So the fact that you took two defensive tackles shows that you continue to build for the future on the defensive line. There was a need for a running back, like you said, a prospect running back. I think they did a good one with Caleb Johnson, who's more of a first through third down back. They've got Jalen Warren as a scat back, and they brought in Kenneth Gainwell as another third down back. So they're in a good spot there. The pick that I would say most surprised by was the Jack Sawyer pick, right? Because the Steelers realistically have three edge rushers on the team right now that they're already interchanging through. So, I mean, it's maybe building for what could be in the next 2 years and seeing if they can develop a prospect along the edge. Jack Sawyer, different type of rusher than Highsmith, than Herbig, than TJ Watt. I think there's some room for growth and development there, so we'll see where that goes. Quarterback Will Howard, they were going to take a quarterback somewhere. And at that point, that was probably the best value they were going to find. Trying to find a diamond in the rough before Aaron Rodgers comes in, obviously. And in the seventh round, they just took some general needs. Carson Brunner more going to be probably a good special teams player, and Dante Kent is a return guy. So in addition to being a quarterback, so I think they were looking at special teams in the seventh round. So I give them a B plus. To the Texans.
Texans needed need pass catchers, needed probably another offensive lineman. They got what they needed to do, so they got Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State at wide receiver with their first pick in the second round. Got Irsay out of Minnesota at the offensive line with their second pick of the second round. So, I thought those two picks handled the needs. And then in the first pick of the third round, Jalen Noel, wide receiver out of Iowa State. I thought, okay, cool. Got both receivers from Iowa State. I think that'll shore up the wide receivers. And then they go also in the third round with Jalen Smith from the DB from USC. Not really sure where that fits in. I don't know where that need was, but okay, cool.
Is he a potential return guy? Like special teams guy, maybe?
Probably a special teams guy. Woody Marks in the fourth round, running back from USC. I think, I don't know that the Texans have their workhorse running back, so I think this is sink or swim.
Who is their running back right now? Who's rostered?
Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon. Well, so there's their workhorse. So this is just an insurance policy.
Right. Jalen Reed, safety out of Penn State. I'm cool with that pick. Then we got Graham Mertz, obviously quarterback. Florida is going to be a backup. Keontae Hamilton, defensive tackle from Rutgers. Okay. And then Luke Leche, Tennessee. Luke Leche. I'm terrible at names.
I think it's Lachey. I think it is, but he's not related to Nick Lachey of 98
How do
Degrees.
you know?
Because I heard them on the telecast. I watched the entire Saturday draft, just so we're clear.
I think that tight end out of Iowa is the diamond in the rough. I know we got the I can't remember his name. We got the Ohio State tight end last year.
Stover?
Yes. Last year, I think this is also still a nice pick from Iowa. Probably maybe better than Cade Stover, but whatever. Overall,
with tight ends, there's something to be said there, right?
Yeah. Overall, I give it about a B. No, nothing that rocks the foundation. I think this just fills some of the gaps that they created by not signing people and letting people go.
Other notable picks and happenings in the NFL. I mean, I think more has probably happened since, but the Seahawks traded Sam Howell to the Vikings, which I think put some to rest on the outside chance that Aaron Rodgers could go to the Vikings just by rounding out that quarterback room. The Giants took Jackson Dart as the second quarterback off the board. Were we surprised that Jackson Dart was the second quarterback off the board, or that the Giants did it this quickly?
I think there was noise that got out on that Jackson Dart was being looked at by the Giants. They saw him the second coming of Eli. Like, hey, it's another quarterback from Ole Miss. Look what happened the last time. But talent-wise, no, I'm not surprised Jackson Dart was the second one. I was just surprised New York was the one that came in and got him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that I could.
Because now you have a rookie, and then you have Jameis, and you have Russ.
Right. So I'll see where that goes. The Browns took Quinshon Judkins, running back of Ohio State, staying in the state of Ohio.
Their best pick of the draft.
Their best pick of the draft.
Best pick of the draft.
The best part about that whole pick was he wasn't even in the room whenever he got the call. His mom made
Yeah.
That was funny.
Come on, no one's in the call right now. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Whoops. Cleveland called. That's why I said nobody's going to call. Don't pick up that call, please.
Right.
We'd rather not hold on to that one. If I miss it, maybe they won't draft me. I wonder if that could happen.
No.
If you just don't call, if you just don't pick up the call.
No, I'm pretty sure they still draft you.
Seeing something like
They
last
can,
year,
I
2
know.
years ago, where they called a prospect or whatever, and they were struggling to get on the phone with them or something like reception or something was going on, but they ended up getting through like the second or third try.
That would be hilarious if that ever happened. Somebody just refused. I mean, it's like an Eli Manning situation, a John Elway situation, however you want to go with it.
Well, what if they didn't have the number saved and it came up as like potential spam?
Could be. Tragon Henderson goes to the Patriots to join Ohio State faithful Mike Vrabel.
I think a solid pick by the Patriots as well.
All right.
Like if they had flip-flopped those backs, I think it would have been a bust.
You think?
I honestly do. I think
just
fit, and the coaches that are coaching them.
All right. Tyler, and I still have not figured out how to say this last name. Shook. That's the one. Goes to the Saints.
You can tell by or you can tell by it phonetically or alphabetically. That says Shook. Yeah.
So Tyler Shook goes to the Saints. The quarterback. He was the third quarterback off the board, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Stupid.
And that's. Go on, Jim.
I think that was a horrible pick by the Saints.
Spencer.
Who would you have rather seen them pick?
Honestly, I thought they were going to be the ones that picked Shedeur.
I did too. That was, I mean, obviously my narrative is that Shedeur was not going to go to Pittsburgh, so I was going to hold on as tightly as I could to that. But I did think that the Saints were going to pull the trigger before the Steelers, if the Steelers were going to. Jacksonville took guard Wyatt Milam from WVU, Alex.
Yeah, good on him. Glad he got drafted. See how it goes.
Seahawks took Jalen Miller from Alabama. Obviously,
Jalen Milroe?
That's what I said.
I thought you said Miller.
Milroe.
Oh, okay.
From Alabama. So
Solid pick. Good job, Seahawks.
I was curious if the Steelers were going to take Milroe. Like in the later rounds. I thought it was going to be between Milroe and Howard if they took somebody in those later rounds. So he went to the Seahawks first. We already talked about the Browns taking Dylan Gabriel.
Stupid.
Would it be stupid if they didn't take Sanders still?
A 5'9" quarterback. I said it when they drafted it. 5'9" quarterback was dumb. Like, I'm trying to think about what I did the next day. Because he went the night before, right?
Yeah, he was third round.
Yeah, I said it was stupid then that morning. I was like, that is stupid. 5'9" quarterback is dumb.
Tell that to Drew Brees.
Yeah, Drew Brees. I mean, exception to the rule. Let's be
I
honest.
don't think Dylan Gabriel's an NFL quarterback, personally.
The Giants took Cam Scatterboo.
One of their better picks.
I mean, there's somebody that's like a Will Campbell situation. Like he's going to run through the wall for you. Like you just drafted loyalty is what you just drafted with him.
Yeah.
So I mean it's good. We'll see how that pans out. If he does pan out, let's just see what the Giants can do to screw it up in the offseason 2 or 3 years from now.
Don't pick up his option.
Right. The Ravens took a pick, which doesn't seem like much until you think about maybe the why, as the Ravens took kicker Tyler Loop from Arizona. Maybe signaling the end for Justin Tucker in Baltimore
He's
amid
gone.
his current allegations.
He gone. What team wastes a draft pick on a kicker?
That's
The Buccaneers drafted one in the second round a few years ago. Thank you.
Sorry, Nate.
You remember that dude Roberto Aguayo from Florida State who couldn't miss?
I do. Well, they
And then
found
he
out
gets to the
couldn't.
NFL when he couldn't make it.
What happened? That
Yeah,
will
that's
happen.
a second round pick on a fucking kicker.
The Dolphins pick up Quinn Ewers.
Again, I think solid pick.
I was curious where he was going to go. I didn't know if he was
I
going
mean,
to get
Tua is
drafted.
one shot away from being.
Up on his wall.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh God, that was a lot of speculation. Was for every team that didn't pick him, is there another head on the wall here? Who knows? And Mr. Irrelevant, the last player picked in this year's draft, cornerback from Memphis, Kobe Minor to the Patriots.
I feel no different.
I mean, he's Mr. Irrelevant. I don't think we're supposed to feel different. So, anything else from the draft of note to talk about?
Nope.
Nope, but the Pittsburgh start getting ready for the planning committee.
That's it. I did listen to the Roger Goodell interview with Pat McAfee, and they talk about how this is like 2 or 3 years out. The true planning is 2 or 3 years out typically. But it seemed to me, and I'll just say this for those that were watching, that Green Bay did well.
Yeah, they did good.
Keeping the crowd engaged. The second most, aside from, I believe, Nashville, as far as total number of people attending. But it always seemed like there was activity. Like you could hear music in the background, you could hear a live band in the background. It seems like Green Bay did well in hosting, in my opinion.
I think some of the announcers that announced the picks could be better, but yeah, overall, I think you're right.
I think you kind of live and die by those ones. It's like fan engagement.
Yeah. Well, we bring out that one female NFL exec who looks like she's scared shitless to be out there.
She was like the whole fourth round. I think she maybe had multiple.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Still good. All right, next thing we have to look forward to, schedule release, May 14th.
Get pumped.
So we got a few weeks here before we get to see what new interesting videos are going to be coming out. Are we looking forward to any particular team's videos in the schedule release day?
Are the Chargers going to live up to the hype that they have the past couple years?
I sure hope so. The Titans with going out on Broadway.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to do that again.
No, I doubt it, but I would be hilarious if they found a way to do something like that. What if they go to like an old folks home and do it there? That would be hilarious to me. We'll see, though. And the first game of the preseason has been announced. Lions-Chargers on July 31st in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. Get pumped, gents. Get pumped.
I'm pumped.
It just seems odd to me to think July 31st preseason football. I'm like, that just seems so early.
Remember, that game's what, like 7 to 10 days before any other games?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a precursor there. All right, and that wraps up our draft talk. Now it's time for other interesting news in sports.
Very interesting news in sports.
Doesn't sound right.
Yeah, you tried, Alex. You tried. We're starting off. We're recording out of order, so if you've heard all of the fun that was the NFL draft talk, we did that before Jim joined because he had to tend to some child situations, which apparently the ginger kids didn't wear enough sunscreen over the weekend.
Or any. TBD.
We do not know the outcome aside from there's some sunburn situation in the Compton household. First, in other interesting news in sports, in the golf world, we're going to have possible changes to the Tour Championship format with a vote supposedly coming in the next couple weeks that could eliminate the current Tour Championship format, which includes players starting with higher strokes than others, right? There's a handicap, so the best player starts at like -10, and then there's groups at like -8, 7 on down to 0. So that may be eliminated. They also may be looking to make an additional cut line throughout that weekend, so there are consistently less players. So maybe an additional cut line that weekend that gets it to 16 as opposed to 32, and then 8 advance through the weekend or into the last day. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on. So I'm curious for myself how this will go, because it's going to be interesting if they switch up the format, which seems to have created a little bit more buzz. But I think they want that last tournament to mean something more, because really there's only 2 or 3 to 5 players that are really in it based on that handicap structure. So for you, we'll say more novice golf watchers, is there anything that would make the last tournament of the year more interesting to you and would get you to tune in? Alex.
Alex, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Good. Sorry, my washer is going, and I can't really stop things. So I muted so you don't have to hear the background noise. I was just trying to read. So whenever we talk about match play in golf, like, define match play.
So that was something that I think was tossed out there. I don't think this is really going to be part of any real proposal, but match play would be 1v1. Whoever wins the hole gets 1 point, whoever loses a hole loses a point, and then you have to just win. So just like match play 1v1 formats.
Okay. I just wondered, like, because it said no more, and I was like, wait, do they do that? Have I not paid that much
Nah,
attention?
that was something that was put out there. I did not talk about it in my discussion, because
Got ya.
it's not likely to get any traction in this
Okay.
conversation.
Gotcha. Okay, I was just clarifying. I think that I actually kind of like the idea of another cut line. Because by that time, if I'm really only focusing on the top people anyway, and I think maybe I would get a little more into it if they were able to just focus only on talking about those people and like breaking down what they were doing versus trying to like pick up bits and pieces of people that have zero chance at all to win. So I think that would be a positive. Um, but nothing overly specific. Nate?
Nate?
No, I agree with you. I think having another cut line is something that's really intriguing. Because, like you said, I'm thinking this is like the Masters. I'm like, yeah, you have all these guys that are going out all day, and you have guys that have no chance, and no one's going to watch them anyway. So why even bother? Um, so I think if you've got it limited down to only a few people, then it's something that you can follow more closely. It's not like, oh, who all was out there in the field today? And you got 32 golfers, and only 6 to 8 of them are worth a shit.
Yep, any 1 week, that's usually how it is. There's really only a handful that are truly competing. Yeah, so I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. Again, golf is trying to do something, continue to make it more relevant, so I'm always for more eyes on golf and more interest in watching golf, especially towards the end of the season. In mixed martial arts, Dustin Poirier confirms on the Pat McAfee show that his last fight will be in Nolens on July 19th versus Max Holloway for the BMF title. Nate, I believe you tossed this in there.
Yeah, I was watching McAfee whenever this came out, so I didn't realize that Dustin was actually in his upper 30s. I mean, I'm not an avid MMA watcher like my brother is, but I also thought it was interesting, too, that this fight's not taking place in Vegas like almost all of them do, and I think they had one in New Jersey, or one coming up in New Jersey. So
Well,
I think,
Poirier's from New Orleans, so I
right.
think there's that draw.
Yeah, so it's
And
interesting that they're having this, and then, like he said, this is like his third fight maybe against Max, and then,
mhm.
so this would be one hell of a way to go out if he can win it at home and win the BMF.
Yeah, and I mean, these two are just, they sit in the middle of the ring, stand in the middle of the ring toe to toe. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is likely to be a knockout, and if not, it's going to be a bloody, glorious mess for
Mm-hmm.
the viewers. So, yeah, this would be a cool one to watch and for Poirier to go out on. So, that'll be cool. In hockey, we got the playoffs going on. In the Eastern Conference, round one, we have Toronto up 3-1 on Ottawa, Florida up 2-1 on Tampa Bay, Washington up 2-1 on Montreal, and Carolina up 3-1 on New Jersey after a win today, Sunday, as we're recording. In the Western Conference, we've got Winnipeg and St. Louis tied 2-2, Dallas, Colorado tied 2-2, Vegas, Minnesota tied 2-2, and the Kings, Edmonton. Kings are up 2-1. Nate, I believe you're watching a little bit of a hockey game right now.
Yeah, right now Washington is on the road in Montreal. Currently 2-1 Montreal into the second. Montreal looking to come back and tie this series.
Yeah, and let's see, Toronto is the 1 seed in the East.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm gonna say Washington might be the 2.
Okay, and Winnipeg's the 1 in the West.
No, I think one. Well, yeah, Winnipeg might be 1 in the West, but their goalie play has been really bad lately. I think their guy gave up 5 today, or he may have got pulled again. I saw, but the West, everything's pretty tight. East is a little bit more of a separation there.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Alex, you kept up playing the hockey.
I watch it when it's on. I haven't gotten overly invested. I was invested in the ECHL playoffs. Local news, Wheeling Nailers had a fantastic season and then immediately and promptly shit the bed when they entered into the first round of the playoffs, losing to the Norfolk Admirals 4-1. The series record 4-1. We went to the only game they won, so maybe if I would have been able to be at more games, they'd have won more. It was just crazy. They looked so good, like the Nailers that they've looked like all season when we won. I'm like, oh, I was like, they might be able to do this. If they play like this, they will surely win 4 games in a row and bounce back. But nope, they lost 5-2, and that's all she wrote. But as far as the NHL goes, I like to see whenever they're like tight series like this. It tells me these are actually probably the best teams, and it'll be competitive. It seems like every time I turn on the TV to watch hockey, I just have the timing down to where I end up watching some Washington versus Montreal. So outside of that, I haven't watched too much. So
Sounds like you might need to rebalance your
Too,
washer.
I saw the Kings and Oilers. This is like the 3rd, if not the 4th, consecutive playoff series that they are playing in the first round in.
yeah, I think it's funny when things match up like Tampa Bay versus Florida, like Florida hockey, Toronto and Ottawa, etc. And yes, my washer, I think I probably need to rebalance it, but that's just a task that I've done several times and just
Done
over
with
it.
it
I
for
just
the day.
listen. It washes my clothes, and I just listen to it now. So that's why I'm
Right.
muted and periodically unmuted.
All right. In basketball, in the NBA, we have the playoffs started there. In the Eastern Conference, we have the Cavs up 3-0 on the Heat. The Pacers up 2-1 on the Bucks, playing right now, I believe. Knicks up 3-1 on the Pistons after winning their Sunday matchup. And the Celtics up 2-1 on the Magic, currently playing, I believe. Celtics likely to go up 3-1 in that series. In the Western Conference, the Thunder have swept the Grizz, and John Morant, who now can partake in all the adult ballets that he wants to do for the whole the whole off season, as the Thunder sweep the Grizz 4-0. The Nuggets and Clippers are tied 2-2 thanks to a Saturday night buzzer beater as Nikola Jokic put up a heave and Aaron Gordon went to dunk it in towards the end, a la NC State in the NCAA championship. There was a lot of, was it actually a good basket? Was his finger still on the ball? There were a lot of people that had a lot of comments, and I think we're speaking a little bit out of pocket with their understanding of basketball rules. And I don't even know what the NBA rule is. Is it when it's through the bucket? Is it when the person's hand is off of it? I don't know. Anyway, they reviewed it. Nuggets win. That series is tied 2-2. The Timberwolves go up 3-1 on the Lakers thanks to a Sunday win. Some controversy in this one. There was an overturned call late in the game. Instead of a turnover, it was a LeBron James foul. Anthony Edwards gets 2 free throws. The Wolves go up 3. And then there was a kicked ball that was not called a kicked ball. Out of bounds on the Lakers. Lakers lose, go down 3-1. Yikes for the league, wanting to see LeBron James and Luka Doncic make it farther into the NBA playoffs. And the Warriors are up 2-1 on the Rockets. Have we watched any basketball, gents?
Nope.
Is that a no to, Alex? You have to be a little bit better with the technology here, bud.
Okay, I know. I don't know. It's like I think my computer's getting old, and it just doesn't this. I don't know. It's slow today. Um, so no, I watched a tiny bit last night at that wedding. It was like on because it was a kind
Mm-hmm.
of like an upstairs sport bar type situation, and honestly, that was probably the first I really sat down and watched any of it. Um, I have always been a Lakers fan, like growing up, because I was a giant Kobe fan. So I have a hard time rooting against them, but there's also a part of me now, like in today's day and age, that I don't know, I'm just a little bit over it. So we'll see how it turns out. I probably won't watch until the finals, and then I'll watch because that's really the only time I'm interested. Maybe the conference finals.
All right. We will see. We will see. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Sports Stuff Jim and Muff. Remember, follow us at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter, Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff on Facebook, on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, rate, review, poke, like, tickle.
Get
Good
your
to
bell.
go.
Ding ding.
Ding, ding. Get that bell on. Subscribe to all of the things that we're doing. Let's get those YouTube Shorts views up. We had 1K plus views in Shorts over the past week. So, do all the things to make that happen. And typically this would be the spot where I tell people that we want to be friends, but apparently that's no longer a thing. So, up and away for Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff into the future.
Don't forget your sunscreen.